Emma, Sarah, and Sally have been friends since they were toddlers. And for as long as I could remember, they have had a tradition that on Friday the 13th, they always like to do something spooky. Friday the 13th and Halloween was their thing. Well, this year it was more special because Sally was getting ready to move. And they were going to be away from her for 2 years because they all had plans to go to college together. But until then, they were going to be away from her for a little bit. So Emma decides that she wants to play with the Ouija board. And Sally has always heard, hey, that's bad. You know, her parents have always been against it, her grandparents. So she's more knows the dangers, but she's scared to say no because she doesn't want to upset her friends. So she goes along with it. And up until this, she's having nightmares. And so they stay at Sarah's house. And Sarah's parents are leaving for the day. Like, they're not going to be back till later that night. So they know they have enough time that they can do this. So they go into the basement and they start asking questions, but kind of a little bit of stuff happens, but not much. They get, basically, it tells them that there's some ghost in the house and that they're not evil and they're not out to harm anybody. So they don't get a whole bunch from it. So Emma brings up an idea of, well, hey, since we're not getting much from doing it here, why don't we go to the cemetery? And Sally's like, but your parents are going to be home in like the next 2 hours. Like, we only have 2 hours to do this. So, because of that, Sarah's like, okay, well, why don't we wait until my parents go to bed and then we take the Ouija board. So them two, Emma and Sarah, are all for it, and Sally is not as much. But again, she doesn't want to upset her friends. So the parents get home and they end up going to bed. The girls wait for about an hour and they sneak out and they take Emma's car. Well, they reach the cemetery. Sally's feeling a bit nervous. She's not overly superstitious, but she is when it comes to Ouija boards, because she has been told, hey, you should never play with one. She's been taught of the dangers. So they get out of the car, and Emma's grandmother is buried at this cemetery. So they decide they're going to take it on her grave. And so they start asking questions, and Emma's grandmother comes through and tells them to leave. Like, you need to leave, you need to go. But the girls, they look at Emma and they ask her, they're like, what do you think we should do? She goes, we should keep going. That's when someone else starts talking to them. A young man named Jack. And he tells them his story. He tells them that he died when he was 21 and that he was murdered. He tells them how he was murdered, and he tells them that it was unsolved. So he asked them if they could go to the police and tell them who did it, because he tells them who did it. But they go, we can't do that because they're just going to think we're crazy. So he tells them, he says, well, I can have proof for you. And they're like, how? He's my neighbor, and I can tell you where he lives, and he still has the murder weapon, and it has blood on it. So Sally is scared, and she's like, I don't think we should do this. There's a lot that can go wrong here. And Sarah is actually feeling the same way that Sally's feeling right now. She tells Emma, she's like, Sally's right, like, a lot can go wrong here. Like, if he murdered him, he could murder us. But Emma's like, we just have to not get caught. So she's really wanting to do this, and the two girls are against it. But they don't want to leave their friend. So they all get in the car, and they go where he told them to go. And the girls are feeling very, very, very uncomfortable. Like, they're just balls of nerves at this point. Because all three of them realize this could be bad if this is true. But then another spooky thing happens, that they're listening to music, and on the radio, a voice comes on. And the radio was down, it wasn't even on at this point because they were talking. But it comes on, and there's a voice. And in an eerie voice, he says, thank you for helping me. So now the girls are looking at each other like, because it kind of makes it more real for them. So they're at the house now. And what they're noticing is this house in itself is creepy. It's big, it's creepy. So that spooks them out too. And then obviously, to top it off, there's a killer living there. So they get out, and they park their car down the street so they won't be noticed if the guy happens to be awake. Because their plan is to sneak in through a window to get in the basement, which is where he told them that the murder weapon would be. So they end up slowly trying to find a way to get in through this window. But luckily it's not even locked, which is spooky, because they're like, why is it not locked? Normally people keep, especially in the neighborhood that the guy lived, normally people keep their doors and windows locked. So they go through the window, and the basement in itself has a spooky atmosphere to it. And they start hearing noise upstairs. So they know the guy's there. They can hear talking. And then all of a sudden, the basement door opens. And all three of them go and they hide. Well, they notice the guy throws something down the stairs because they can hear the bang of it, like something had been just thrown. They look after he goes back up, and it's a girl. And they don't know if she's alive or if she's dead. But they go to her, and they notice she has a pulse. So they're freaking out. And Emma goes to call 911. But as she's going to do it, there's no service. And she's like, what? How's that possible? So Sally tries it. Same thing. And then Sarah. So they realize, they're like, we have to go to the police. But Emma's like, we have to get her out of here, because if we go to the police and she's still here, he could kill her before we even get back with them. So they can see that even though she's alive, she is in bad shape. So Emma and Sally both grab her and hold on to her. And the problem is that they're nervous for the fact that if he catches them, their car is a little bit farther down the street, and trying to run with the injured girl is not going to be easy. So they're just praying they don't get caught. So they start walking, and they're freaked out the whole time, because they're like, if he ends up running after us, like, what are we going to do? We're just going to have to drop her, because we're not going to make it to the car. But Emma's pretty confident. She's like, let's just walk. He's not noticed us so far. And they end up getting to the car. So they take the girl to the hospital. And they go to the police. They tell the police everything that led them to the basement that night. And of course, the cops, they tell the girls, hey, that is breaking and entering, and if we go and we don't find anything, you could seriously be in trouble. But they're like, we saved a girl. So the police go, and luckily they find what the girls told them they would find. And when the girl wakes up, she tells them she's actually been in that house for months, and that she was actually Jack's girlfriend. And the girls were like, well, did he ever... They were all three looking at each other like, did he ever mention that he had a girlfriend? And now thinking back to it, the girls are like, everything makes sense now. He wanted us to go to that house to find his girlfriend to save her. And the reason he didn't tell them that, because he probably thought that they wouldn't end up going had he have told them that the girl was still in the house and that they were going to have to save her. Well, The guy gets arrested. And the girls, even though they would never do it again, they were actually happy that night that they decided to go to that cemetery. Even though, like I said, they said they would never play with the Ouija board again, they ended up saving someone's life thanks to Jack. But they still, to this day, will always say, we'll never play with the Ouija board again. And after that night, they ended up burying the Ouija board to where no one would find it. But right as they were getting ready to bury it, they seen on the Ouija board that someone said, "Thank you." And it was Jack. That is the story. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed.